After the crazy year that was 2020, everything on the planet has changed. This, of course, also includes how people perceive entertainment. We've seen this with multiple films that have released over the course of the last year. And brand new studies are revealing that when it comes to live action Marvel and Disney films, those are pulling ahead of everything else in terms of where people want to watch them. Everything else, not so much. So there has been a couple of studies that I'm going to go over. I'm not really going to get into each one specifically because they were done by websites and analyst groups and everything. But essentially what they've been looking at is how people are responding to returning back to theaters and why are they going to specific films. And what they looked at was all the films that have released, starting with around Black Widow last year. That's sort of like where they started to gauge interest. And then going month by month with every new release and seeing why people chose to see the films that they saw. No surprise here at all. Up until Spider-Man No Way Home, the biggest films were the Marvel films, which were driving most of the traffic to theaters. Even though those box offices are still nowhere where they should have been or had been or were going to be, had the circumstances not been what they were, they're ahead of everybody else. Then you look at Spider-Man, then we look at Sonic, for example, and the Batman, we look at Doctor Strange. They're all doing great. But why aren't other films doing as great? This is where these analytics and studies came in. And what they realized by polling close to 10,000 people across all of these different stats and analytics and things that they're pulling in for this study, essentially what they found out is the audiences are now more willing to trust a brand that they're invested into and go see that, and they don't so much care for stuff that doesn't really fall on the radar. There are a couple exceptions that are noted in here, like Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That one charts high, but that one was honestly kind of unexpected, and everybody says that, right? It just came out of nowhere with all the love, and it's a tremendous film, so it makes sense. But on the other hand, for example, a film like Jurassic World, that one has a 72% interest in seeing it in theaters. But if we look at something like DC Super Pets, 82% want to see it on streaming. They're not interested in going to a theater. And then other films that were being looked at, such as Avatar coming later this year, people want to see that in theaters. Other upcoming DC and Marvel films are all over 75% with theaters. But other films that don't necessarily fall into that type of level of anticipation and hype are all close to a 50% split, which is really interesting. And it's going to be one of those things that you have to look at it and really try to understand what is going on here and why is it this way. And I think most people are starting to realize that what everybody predicted is what's happening. The future is going to be more or less ruled by the big blockbusters. The smaller films will get smaller, and when you go to a theater, it's an event. Outside of that, a few are going to break out, but it's never going to be the same.